Hello and welcome to episode 74? 75.
75, yeah. We're
75.
3/4 of the way to a century, that's what we are.
3/4 of the way to a century, bigger than any actual score that me and Jonathan combined have done in an innings. Of wrong end of the
total, ever.
Possibly total ever, yeah. Quite possibly. Of Wrong End of the Stick podcast with me, Zaki, and hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah, good.
You got cold, so we're going to make this a short, snappy episode, because I'm not sure you're going to be able to talk for a long episode of it, but we'll do our best to get you through that. So.
I've got a Lemsip. I'm armed with Lemsips and sprays and all sorts. So let's get it cracking. We've got some good topics to kind of talk about, and a new little segment as well, which
we've got a plan. We've done research. We've got a new feature. Well, I mean, what more could people ask for? I know.
You're in for a treat. Absolute treat.
Yeah. You know, the people who download this podcast are so lucky. They really are, I have to say. So we're going to talk a little bit about some news that's been going on over the last. There's been a lot of cricket happening since we last recorded. So we're going to do a little bit of a wrap up of a few highlights and lowlights of that, and we're going to talk about some of the England stuff that's been happening, possible future stuff around the globe, and then we're going to go into our future. Our future? No, our new feature. Future. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
Which we are still working on a name for. We've got a possible name, but any fans of Richard Osman's House of Games, stay tuned, because you're going to enjoy this one. But yeah, shall we get into shall we start on probably a bit of a low point really, but it links back to what we talked about a few episodes ago, 3 or 4 episodes ago, when we talked about racism in cricket. And obviously Yorkshire have they've had a lot of problems over the last, in the last few years, but certainly the last few months since all this has been coming out, there's been a lot of changes and stuff happening there as they try to fix the problems. And I think one of the things we said on that episode was very much that it was not just going to be Yorkshire. That was not just racism wasn't just limited to that. And that seems to be being played out now as Essex County Cricket Club have been charged by racist comments that have been made in board meetings. So I think that people have been resigning from there. I'm not sure the full length of it. There's obviously going to be an investigation. I think there's internal investigations and external investigations ongoing at the moment. So I think this probably will be one of those things that rumbles on. I think it's going to come out more and more in various different areas. And I think hopefully this is a kind of sign of changing of the guard of that old school, private school white man in a suit making those inappropriate comments in boardrooms. Hopefully this is a sign of the end of that kind of era and a new beginning somewhere, I think. So I think you can see it in a positive light somewhere, that hopefully this is. Yeah.
It is a positive light, and I think there's a couple of things to kind of glean from what's happened with Essex, because these aren't new allegations. These are allegations that have been going on for a while, but actually they were raised by the ECB in October 2021. But it just goes to show, I think, drawing it back to Rafiq, who raised it and was brave enough to really kind of put that stuff out there, and it's now just highlighted the impact in other areas. So I think the former Essex chairman, John Farrager, resigned since after the allegations. It was about a racist comment in a board meeting in 2017, which was when the initial allegation happened. But you're right, it was never going to be just kind of local to Yorkshire and it happening in one area. We know about some of the kind of elitism and some of the more exclusive ways of thinking and behaviours that kind of cricket has, and we've seen it in possibly stuff like selection that we've talked about in previous podcasts. So it's good that this has been highlighted, and it's good that it's out there. It's a shame, obviously, it does kind of put shade on the sport, but it needs to be done.
It does, but I'm always in slightly two minds, because obviously we love cricket, and you don't want to see cricket being talked about in a negative way like this. But actually, if these things are happening, I would much rather it did get talked about, and these things were aired, and people were held to account for them, because that's what's going to stop it happening in future. And although, yes, it's in a negative light right now, it's the dark before the light. It's before it's the night. Hopefully, this is the deepest bit of night before you see the sun rising, and that new era, and that new where this none of these sort of accusations are going to be tolerated. There's not going to be any more racism. People won't get away with, all of the things that have been happening over the last, decades probably. And this is the start of that change. So it is unfortunate to see, but actually, given that these things have happened, I would much rather they were talked about, and we can deal with it, hold the people to account, and then move on together. That's got to be the hope, isn't it?
Perfect. Yeah.
Well, on from one resignation onto just resignations for different matters, and I'm not sure if these were resignations or sackings actually, but in the fallout of the Ashes hammering, that's probably the most polite word, isn't it? It could be talked about. There's many other words that could be used. The England's defeat in Australia. There's been a lot of changes coming in terms of the England test team, the men's test team, certainly. So Chris Wood, who's the coach, who we talked about when he first got the job a couple of years ago here, he has stepped down, so he's gone. I don't think he was our first choice for coach when he did arrive, but that's by no means to say that he is the reason that England have been failing. But he's gone. There's England's director of cricket. I have no idea what that job entails, but that person was Ashley Giles. He stepped down as well. So Andrew Strauss has sort of temporarily taken over, and while they look for a permanent replacement, but what that person does, not a clue, but maybe this is part of the problem. So there's been a fair amount of changes coming. And then for the West Indies tour, for the England tour of West Indies, Anderson and Broad have both been dropped. So there's big changes in terms of the playing side of things, as well as the backroom staff as well. So I think there's just a whole scale change starting to go on in the England camp at the moment, and I don't know, probably needed. I don't know. What's your take on it?
I think we've seen over the past kind of 2-3 years of us really getting into cricket and the England team, and really beginning to get, kind of focused on the team and the dynamic of it. And we've seen sort of new players come in, and more recently younger talent over the past year get involved with the team. And up and coming potential, but there hasn't been that much disruption. I feel like the weight of the team's performance has been on a few kind of players that have come in clutch, and a few players that even when, not being particularly in form but have been there for a while, have still been in the team for I'm sure good kind of reasons. But there seems to be a lacking in a bit of disruption, in a bit of injection of maybe thinking about things differently. How long have we been talking about the top order and the reliability of it? How long have we been talking about, the missing? We've had kind of spinners in the team that have been on hiatus and focusing on county here and there and stuff, but there seems to be some real elements in the team that have been missing for quite a while. And I wonder if it's just that the coaches and the directors haven't picked up on that, or if it's something that, Root's been aware of and maybe has not been vocal, or has not been allowed to be vocal on that in terms of selection. So I hope that the changes that are coming and new coaching posts and new director and whoever else is kind of getting shifted around, they actually begin to reflect on the team. Because if you look at the team of Australia, there was some kind of significant changes that were made. And you look at the players and the team that they've got now, and I don't think, England aren't in their best form. If we look at the Ashes, Australia do have a pretty strong team as well. And I think we need to try and mirror that. And that really do need to focus who's in the team, that dynamic, and the makeup of it. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
There definitely seems to be a desire for change at the moment throughout England, and I think my only issue with it is that it seems to be slightly grasping at straws and be like, well, we'll drop a bunch of people and pick some really, really inexperienced people and we'll sack the coach. There doesn't really seem to be a strategy behind it. There doesn't seem to be a plan that's driving this. It seems to be, well, we're just gonna move a few things around and hope that helps. And it's the analogy I used with you earlier in the week, isn't it? It feels a little bit like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It feels like they're just making slightly superficial decisions, but with no real plan of, well, what's the aim here? What is your plan to get back to be that number one in the world? And because that's what England should be aiming for, but I'm just not seeing any sort of coherent strategy behind trying to get to that, and that's what I'd like to see. And I'd kind of like to see, somebody come in with a bit of leadership at the top of England, whether that's the coach, whether it's the director of cricket, whoever that person is, but come in, take a hold of it, take some ownership of it, and really try and get to the root of what the problems are and have a plan to say, well, look, these are the things I think have been wrong. This is my plan to fix it. And I've not seen any of that for England for some time. So we'll see. Maybe people are trying to put that plan in place, but we'll see. But in the meantime, you've got some stuff on some new players, haven't you? Some of the possible solutions to England's playing troubles.
Exactly. And there's some players in this mix, that are kind of more intriguing, I think, to me, just kind of touching on some of the stuff that we said. So the BBC released an article that looked at 8 potential players to look out for in the future that England, the new kind of restructure or selectors in England may look to kind of include in the future team after that thrashing in Australia. So we're going to go through those players and see, if we've heard of them, if we know what they're about, and just have a look at some of their stats to, see if they could be. So the first one on there is a batter from Nottinghamshire, Joe Clark. So he's had 93 games at first class with about 5,009 runs with a batting average of 37 and 64 of 18 centuries. Don't know if you've heard of this guy from Nottinghamshire, if he's been on your radar at all. He's a good T20 player apparently. So
he is, he's quite destructive. He's one of those that he is one of those that I know, and he is sort of quite destructive middle order batsman. And he's one of those that you would want coming in. He's one that could come in and change a game. I think in that middle order, and he's somebody that could come in sort of at like 5 or 6 or somewhere down in that middle order. If England, I mean, your ideal for him is that you've got a nice solid base from your openers, and you're at 250 for 3, and he's going to come on and add a quick another 50, 70 odd runs that could be really useful. So he's a really interesting one, and I do hope to see him in more England.
So filling that kind of potentially sort of Stokes Butler-esque kind of batter then, that aggressive counter-attacking. Okay, so our next one is an opener, which was intriguing to me. And there's now for me, looking at this gentleman, Phil Salt, who's an opener from Lancashire. Same age as Joe, 25 years old, 38 games, a few centuries, high score, just shy of a century and a half at 148 with an average of 30.73, which I don't think is that bad for an opener. Maybe not that great, but so former Australia batter and Middlesex coach Stewart Law. It's a bit of a dark horse. I don't know how much of their. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen him play, but
I feel like I've seen him occasionally, but not very much. But yeah, again, I think I feel like he's going to be in England's top order certainly for T20 and for one days at some point. Whether that's he transitions his game to the Test team, I don't know, but he's bags of potential definitely, and he can score runs for fun. They score goals for fun, yeah, but he can score runs for fun where he wants to. But yeah, will that transition? I think that will be the interesting thing is will it transition to the Test arena?
Yeah,
because he's certainly got talent there.
he seems to, for the same age, to not have as many games and many experience, as much experience, as many runs on the board as some of the others. So I wonder if it's, maybe some talent there, maybe someone that could show up and surprise us all, but possibly not one to put, kind of money on in terms of going into the Test side. So an interesting choice for me. I don't know a lot about him, but based on what the stats are saying in his performance and whatever, kind of people are saying then. But the next person is a leg spinner, which I think we're in need of in the team, Mason Crane. So I think his best performance is a 5 for 35. I don't know what game that is in, but again, not one that I've seen. It comes from Hampshire.
He's sort of been on the fringes of the Test team. I think he's played a Test. I'm pretty sure he's played a Test. I think that is all he's played, but I think he has played a Test.
He played in the 17-18 Ashes tour. So.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's certainly been in squads, but not quite made it. I think Jack Leach has tended to keep him out. And it's a tricky one because he's a young leg spinner, and young leg spinners they're an interesting breed, because a lot about leg spin is you've got to be comfortable and happy being smacked for six and fours and boundaries quite a lot before you will actually make your breakthrough, and that will condemn a younger player's confidence a lot more easily than it can with somebody with more experience and stuff. So they've got to tread delicately with getting him into the team. They clearly have. If he's been sort of on the fringes for a good sort of 4 years or so now, it'll be interesting to see what kind of impact that he has, and where he takes it from there. Because there's this England spinner spot available for somebody who shows that bit of potential and talent. So it's there for him. It's there's opportunities for him. It's just whether he can step up to take it. I can't remember the last time England had a leg spinner consistently in their team. In my lifetime, certainly. It's difficult to think of one, anyway. I'm sure there is. I'm sure people will tell us on Twitter, at Wrong End Podcast, of who the last England leg spinner was to be successful in the England team, but I'm struggling to think of one, so. Yeah.
So, another young gun as well. Another batter, Tom Haynes from Sussex. Churned out well over 1,000 runs in the Championship last year. So he's quite happy smacking that about. Got an average of 34.3 at first class, 5 centuries, highest score of 156. Young. This to me looks like, I think it's difficult, isn't it? I think the average 34 is another thing if we look at some of the others, but I also think this one sort of stood out to me, and I think I have seen him in a few games. And
it's interesting. This is one I don't really know much about at all. To be honest, I've not seen him play, so it's one I will watch with interest. But yeah, no, not one I know very much about at all.
He's one of those batsmen that when I did see it in some of the county games, he just seems like really positive, really opportunistic batsman. Maybe not so much of who was the top order batsman that we had against Pakistan last year, who was quite just really static. He's like a bit more raw. bit more Rory Bird. Yeah, like I don't know, he's just a really interesting batsman to watch. You know, his triggers all the way up. He's always stepping to it. He's just a really positive batsman where he is looking for runs. And I think, you know, it's always good to see. I think we do have batsmen in the team that are like that. And we do have that. But I think, you know, where he's at in his career, 23 years old, where he had a fantastic performance last year. I think this could be one to watch and possibly one that I would like to see in the Test team. I'm intrigued to see how he's doing kind of this year and see if it's raising kind of eyebrows in the right places. Because I think if he gets a good start, then I think any team internationally is going to be in trouble. He's proved that he can perform at, you know, top level. Okay. So we've got Tom Helm, pace-up bowler from Middlesex. Not one that I know too well. Best performance of 5 for 36, with an average of 31.8. He's got pace, bounce, height and swing to be able to trouble the best batters in the world. And that is from Steve Finn, former England fast bowler. Doesn't look like he's played for too long, though, at first class. Only 34 games behind him, but I don't know if pace is really the big issue for the England Test team at the moment. I know Archer's injured and stuff, but
it's
people are getting on.
The biggest problem, but yeah, it's who's going to step up when Broad and Anderson do you know find themselves at the end of that. And I guess that's if you know, quick bowlers always get injured, so you need a few around your squad. So I guess that's kind of the thinking there. Again, he's not one I've seen a lot of, to be honest. I know he's been around a little while, but I've not seen him play a huge amount. But yeah, he's just one of those people who kind of consistently takes wickets without being hugely spectacular, I think. So you know, there's always need for that in your Test team. So.
Okay. Next, we've got another batter. So quite a few batters. Only a leg spinner and a pace bowler included in people that, you know, may have an interest, which is kind of interesting. But Josh Bohannon, batter from Lancashire, over 19,000 runs, average of 43, almost 44, 3 centuries, 174 being the highest score. Really good stats, I think, on paper for the 37 games that he's played, 24 years of age. The former England assistant coach, Paul Farber, said, you know, he's been watching in practice. He's made big strides in terms of techniques. He's got a very simple technique, but it's well organised. And he looks like he's got everything to compete at the highest level. And based on what the figures are showing, you know, another one to kind of keep an eye out for. You know, especially with so little games behind him, though. Almost 2,000 runs. You know, that's quite an impressive dent to make in the young man's career. And another batsman, Alex Lees, opener from Durham, 28 years old, lots of games behind him, 127 at first class, 7,000 runs, 34 average, 17 centuries with a high score of 275. You know, I think opening is one of those. I feel like there's a gap.
I think that's right. I'm surprised Alex Lees makes that list. I feel like he's been around a long time. He's in there, and obviously I'm more aware of the sort of Yorkshire Durham players, just from the kind of area of the country I'm from. And yeah, he's a name that I've heard and seen a lot. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he can make the step up, that would be, you know, really good to see. And actually sometimes a bit of that sort of seasoning in county cricket is not a bad thing, because it does give that resilience when they do make that step up to the Test team. So yeah, it'd be great to see him get an opportunity. And yeah, as you say, opening has been such a problematic area for England for a long time that, again, it's one of those where if somebody just steps in and makes an impression, they could have a long old England career. So yeah, fingers crossed for him.
And you're right, he's been about. He has been about, and he was on the England Lions tour of Australia in the winter. So he is clearly in the minds of of management and selection. So it could be one that we see. Finally, we got Matt Parkinson, another leg spinner from Lancashire. 32 games behind him, 102 wickets. Best performance, 7 for 126. So, you know, as you said, you got to, sometimes as a leg spinner, you got to be welcome to the fact that you're going to get smacked around a bit. But, you know, 7 wickets, that's 126 in the grand scheme of things. Isn't that many runs? So, fierce competitor, which we always like to see on an English side.
Definitely what you need as a spinner as well. I think that's, you know, that's absolutely, I mean, if you could say one thing about, you know, Shane Warne, Nathan Lyon, Graham Swan, you know, the really super successful spinners, competitiveness is probably up there in their, you know, in their qualities, isn't it? You know, it's absolutely what, you know, what they're all about, and it's what you've got to have as a spinner. You know, you've got to have that ability to just come back and that bite and desire and will to win. So yeah, if he's got that, you know, good luck to him. So, I mean, that is a positive thing. I think the positive thing is that there are some good young England players out there. I think, and this is going to be a beautiful segue, which, you know, almost like we planned it, which we really didn't. But in terms of some of the world stuff that I was going to talk about, one of the things is the England under-19 team getting to the World Cup final. So, you know, that shows that there are some real talents out there in the England team, and I think that it does seem dark times at the moment, but there is very much a string of good young players coming through. So yeah, just to go on to that, like, yeah, England getting all the way to the World Cup final for the under-19s. And there were some great performances, and it was really pleasing to see that there was games live on YouTube, so there was a lot of YouTube coverage of the England under-19s, but of all the under-19 teams that were taking part in the World Cup, and it was great to see some different nations in there as well. So there was some, like the Uganda played some games. There was Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe won a really interesting game. You know, there was Canada, UAE. There was all the sort of fringe cricketing nations as well, the associate nations, should we call them, were there represented as well, and there were some really good performances, some really talented players as well, and England do so well getting through to the final. They played India, as you might expect. It's a couple of the bigger nations that get through to the final, but it was great, and India did nick it in the final, and probably deservedly so, but it was a really, really good competition to watch, and the future is bright for England if we can manage some of these young players through in the right kind of way. There's a lot of talent there, and so yeah, it's all positive stuff.
I remember us having similar conversations a couple of years back when we was speaking about like Zach Crawley and John Bess and all of those lots. So hopefully, yeah, we'll see with the reshuffle. But
yeah, get that conveyor belt moving and get some of those through, right? Yeah,
that's it.
So I will do just a very rapid fire build up of just what's been going on in the world of cricket. That was one of the things. The other thing, I mean, these are just selected highlights. There's been tons of stuff happening. But one of the really interesting one, again, it was more because I managed to watch some of it because it was on free-to-air TV here, was the USA versus Ireland series. So Ireland went over to USA, and it was building up to be a phenomenal series. It was really interesting. The first match out there was a T20 match that the USA actually beat Ireland. And I think it was the first time they beat any test-playing nation, which is phenomenal for them to see, and it was held down in Florida. Really interesting. There was you know, not a huge crowd there, but there was some people there to watch it, which was really nice to see. Ireland came back and won the second match by 9 runs. So I mean, USA won by 26 runs. So they really hammered them in that first game, or as much as they could do. Ireland came back and nicked quite a close game in the second T20 match, and then they were due to go into a 3-day one-day international series, and sadly COVID hit the players, and the whole thing was initially just delayed, but then it got to the point that they couldn't see it through. So really unfortunate, because it was building up to be a really interesting series where USA are being really competitive with some really talented players in there as well. So really interesting series and really good. But more cricket over in America, please, because that was some fun stuff over there.
Yeah.
The other one has just happened quite recently, which is Ireland have qualified for the T20 World Cup, which is happening in Australia later on this year. So Ireland are going to the World Cup, which is going to be fun to see. It's always good to see Ireland in the World Cup. UAE have also qualified after beating Nepal in the semi-finals. So your favourite friend of Paul Sterling will be in a T20 World Cup later in this year. So that'll be fun to watch as well. And then the final bit of world cricket, which was a series I thought was quite interesting, because I really thought it was going to go one way, but didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. And that was a 3-test series between South Africa and India, which South Africa beat India. And I know South Africa at home are much better force, and India away from home not quite the force they are at home. But yeah, two test to one win for South Africa. So Keegan Peterson is one to watch out for. He scored 82 in the final test as they chased down a score of 212. So that was really good to see, and it's potential signs of South Africa coming back to be more of a force to be reckoned with on the world stage. So because we were just talking about South Africa not being what they were relatively recently, but it does seem to be that there's sprouts of real promise for that South Africa team. And I'll be honest, it's not a team that I'd want to come to England anytime soon, because I'm not sure the state England are in, we would beat them. So an interesting one. So that's kind of the quick whistle-stop tour of what's been happening in the world of cricket.
The global snapshot, I love it.
Yeah. Right, we are now on to the exciting feature, the thing that everybody has stayed listening for. And for those Richard Osman's House of Games, we're going to do a hat tip to them. Anyone who's seen that, they do a highbrow, lowbrow question, which we are reterming Beamer or Yorker, aren't we, for cricketing purposes. Do you want to explain how it works?
Yes. So and for anyone that's seen it, you'll probably get what the kind of model of this is all about. So the Beamer Yorker segment is going to be basically, we ask each other, we've got an answer already prepared, and we ask each other a highbrow kind of question. So a fact or basically a fact that is really sort of niche, and a savant, a cricketing savant, might be able to glean the answer from straight away. And then we go for the lowbrow kind of statement and information that would make it would basically make it easier to sort of get to the answer. So
two questions, one answer.
Yep.
They both lead to the same answer, but one's a lot more difficult than the other. That's the way I've gone with it for.
That's a lot. So. You said that a lot more succinctly than me. You should have gone. You should have started.
I
with
should have explained it. Right. Do you want to launch yours first? Because I had a weird feeling that we were going to go for a very similar sort of question. So I'm going to let you go first, because I've got a backup prepared. So I can revert to my backup if need be. But I'm slightly nervous about this. I'm not going to lie. But go on, hit me with your Beamer.
It's the Yorker. The highbrow is the Yorker. Yeah.
Sorry, Yorker first. Yeah.
Oh no, it's the Beamer. You're right. The
Beamer's high and the Yorker's low. That's the only thing. They're both, Beamer first.
Even though I'd say a Yorker is more classy than a Beamer.
Yeah, that is true. That's the problem. And it's hard. The Yorker's the hard. Maybe it's like Yorker and pork pie, because, something like really easy.
Yeah.
We need a different name. Come up with a different name for us, listeners, and get in touch at Wrong End Podcast on Twitter, and let us know what we can call this.
Okay, so your Yorker, Beamer, or highbrow, whatever you want to call it, is cricketer from Oxford University and fierce competitor, caused controversy by wearing the infamous Harlequin cap in the 1928-29 Ashes tour of Australia, much to the crowd's chagrin.
Which Ashes tour was that?
28-29.
Wow.
That's the response I wanted. That is the response I wanted.
See, I don't know this, but the way that I play a House of Games version of this is to think, well, okay, so it's an England cricketer from the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
What could you possibly ask as a lowbrow question or as an easy question that would have the answer of an England cricketer from the 1920s and 30s? And I can't think of one. And I don't know.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah. So, cricketer from Oxford University and fierce competitor caused controversy by wearing the infamous Harlequin cap in the 1928-29 Ashes for Australia, much to the crowd's chagrin.
I mean, I genuinely have no idea, and I don't even think I can hazard a sensible guess.
No, you don't want to take a punt?
Well, I do want to take a punt, but I can't think of any England cricketers that were around from that time, from that era.
Oh, I bet you can. You can. Do you want the lowbrow?
Yeah, give me the lowbrow, because I can't even think of a guess. I genuinely can't even think of a guess that would be in the right era.
Okay, alright. The Iron Duke and England Test team captain, infamous and reviled for employing the bodyline tactic against Don Bradman. Oh, I've got him.
This is a problem. I can't remember who that is either.
I've got him.
And I do know that.
I've got him.
Oh.
I think I've stumped Jonathan.
I've been psyched out by the first question. This is the problem. I've been psyched out by the first question. Oh, what
do you want? I'll give you an additional clue.
I need it. I genuinely need it.
Surname rhymes with sardine.
Oh, Douglas Jardine. Ah! Man alive, that's brutal. I hate this segment. We're never doing this again. I hate it. Oh, and I've made yours. I mean, my question to you, and A, not as wordy and as eloquent as you have made them, and B, I think, just less brutal.
I didn't think that was brutal. I was like, I thought when I wrote it, I was like, because we've talked about Bodyline and Douglas Jardine in one of our podcasts, and I thought, I just like his kind of character and his controversy, and I thought, well, it's hard writing it, trying to write something, trying to make it kind of complex. I thought he's probably going to get it, and I wondered if maybe I don't say something about the Harlequin and maybe make it about class and maybe blur the lines a bit more. But I thought, no, maybe it's too. So I'm glad I stumped you there.
Oh, you definitely stumped me. Definitely stumped me. Right, I'm gonna hit you with my. I'm just only gonna give you the highbrow now because I'm not giving you the easy ones. That's just you. Between two now. And as I said, mine not as wordy and as eloquent as you were. But the highbrow Beamer question, whatever it is that we're calling it. So which international cricketer took his first wicket against Zimbabwe in 2003?
International cricketer.
International cricketer.
Took his first.
It's a bit vague for you.
That's so many bowlers. 2003 Zimbabwe match. It was about them. Blimey. Okay, so I'm going to go with a career debut, and I'm going to think, well, it might be a team that is domestic, so I'm going to think about the domestic squad, and I'm going to think of Dale Steyn. What's his name? That fast bowler. Is that his name?
That is Dale Steyn. Yeah, I know who you mean. That is incorrect.
Okay.
Would you like the lowbrow version of that question? Or
yes.
The lowbrow question.
Yep.
Which England and Lancashire bowler has an end of Old Trafford named after them?
Jimmy Anderson.
God Can you believe he's been in the England team since 2003? That's just insanity, isn't it? But yeah, there you go, Jimmy Anderson.
That highbrow, that international, I was just too. I thought, okay, Zimbabwe, maybe that's a clue. Oh, damn it.
You can have my backup as well if you want, because I'm
I love it.
Because I'm going over the more wordy ones next time. I'm gonna have a bit more depth to it next time. I've seen the standard you've set for me. So the next one is which ground hosted its first ever Test match in 1877?
Oh, so this is the highbrow.
That's the highbrow, yeah. I mean, that's not the obvious one. I make the obvious one a bit more obvious for you.
So what Test ground had its first Test match in 1877?
Yeah.
Oh man. No, just based on the last one, is it going to be is it going to be somewhere in England? And would it be too obvious if it's Lords? So I'm going to say the Oval.
That is incorrect.
Ah, damn it.
And I totally thought you were going to guess the Oval as well, because you think the Lords was too obvious. I totally guessed your thought process on that one. So the lowbrow question, the easier version of it for you, is which international ground traditionally hosts the Boxing Day Test for Australia?
Oh no. It's called a funny name. I think oh God, I can't even cheat. Is it Adelaide?
It is not Adelaide.
No!
It is the Melbourne. It's the MCG. It's the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the biggest cricket ground in the world.
God, how infuriating! Is Adelaide part? Is Adelaide part of the Ashes tour?
Yeah, they're usually.
Yeah,
usually. Yeah. I think they host the day-night ones at the moment. The last couple of Ashes. So yeah, but there you go.
There you go.
There we are. I feel it's slightly redeemed the fact that you didn't get both of yours.
You did definitely redeem it there.
I'm definitely going wordier next time. So yeah, good times. Well, there we are. There's our new feature. I might calm down and think to play that again at some other point in the future. Douglas Jardine, that name's going to haunt me forever.
I know. I thought, I was really thinking he might get this in one, just off the
I should have done. I should have thought 1920s, up against Bradman. I should have thought of that, but the name just didn't come to me, and I genuinely think I was psyched out by that first question. I was like, oh my God, I don't know any, and that was it. It was lost to me then, so good. I like that quiz. Enjoyed that. So yeah, we will be back again very soon. So yeah, we'll be back in the next couple of weeks with another podcast. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have, do get in touch with us. Let us know if you want to get in touch and talk about anything we've spoken about. You can do so at Twitter. We are at Wrong End Podcast. We're also on Instagram at Wrong End Podcast, or you can email us at wrongendofthestick@hotmail.com.
Lovely stuff. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.